In this video, I want to go over like the five things that I have five things, four things. I'm just kind of rip it. I got my coffee here. These are the big changes that I've noticed in my life ever since I really got my health dialed. And it's been a compound effect. It hasn't really been it wasn't immediate. We'll put it that way. Like these are like the long term effects. Everyone talks about like, oh, I feel more energy. It's like you can feel more energy just by drinking a gallon of water a day. You don't even have to be super fit, and you just have to get off like the five or six coffees and Red Bull and a Monster and start drinking a gallon of water, and you'll massively pick up your energy levels. But like I want to talk about like the deep changes that I've noticed because it hasn't been easy to stay in shape for a long period of time, and these changes have come very slowly. The first thing that I've noticed really been my capacity level for stress. This was something that I kind of imagined was going to happen a lot faster. Have run two businesses. I've had five jobs. One of them was an hourly wage job. Everything other than that was salary or strictly commission based. I've run two businesses where I only made income off the profitability of the business. One of them took me about 18 months to really get up and going. The other one took me about 12 months to really get up and going to the point where it was like fully operational, where I didn't have to, you know, like struggle financially. And 2020 was a big thing for me. I actually lost just about every dollar to my name. At one point, I had to borrow money from my parents to like pay for rent, which was a little embarrassing, but we figured it out, and now we don't have to worry about it. So that's the good news. My capacity to handle stress has really changed. I was always a very angry person, and like my reaction, I guess, like where emotionally where I would live is like when stress would pick up, I would like get angry, and then I'd want to shut down, and I'd cut out like every person like socially, right? So, great experience. A great example of this was like we were at a bar in like 2014. This was back when I used to drink, and I got into it with a guy, right? Just as young young 20s guys do. You share some words or whatever. It's not like I really wanted to get into a physical altercation because physical altercations suck for both parties, even if you win, right? Like you're still at a high risk of getting into some damage. And so I was always a very like angry person. And so I let that completely ruin my night. Like just a word exchange, right? When I got into business, if I had a bad day or if I had a bad profitability day or I had a stressful day at work or it was just one of those days where everything goes wrong, which happens a lot, right? It's like the 10-80-10 rule, right? 10% of your days over the long span, right, are going to be amazing, and you're going to have the golden touch, and it'll be like I could sneeze money. 10% of days are going to be, no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter how you show up, like they're going to just suck fucking balls. And then the other 80% of the days are going to be determined how you show up and how you react. So I knew that logically growing up, and I knew that logically in my first business. But if I had like a really bad day, I just like it was like I would come home and I would suck the life out of the room. Like my wife would be like, "Oh, like he had a bad day," like I wouldn't even want to talk to her. I wouldn't even want to communicate. I wouldn't even want to have a conversation. I wouldn't want to do anything, right? Like I just would want to sit there and ruminate and just like seethe in this dark place. And during my first business, I completely put my health on the back burner. I completely put exercising, all that shit. Like I just completely put it on the back burner. And that's why I would feel stressed all the time. I had no release. I had no way of getting frustration out. I had no way of handling my emotions because it was like my worldview narrowed, right? Like when things were hard in my business, it felt like the world was hard. When I had a rough sales day or I had a rough day with my staff, it felt like the entire universe was out to get me because when you're hyper focused and you're running a business, right? Like That's all you care about. It's just like that. It's like your kids, and then you actually have real kids, right? Like you have your baby, and becoming a dad offered a lot of perspective. But still, even after a couple years of getting my health really in check and taking care of myself, eating right, having a nice flexible diet where like for the majority I was eating like single ingredient foods, and I was exercising like crazy, and I even competed in a bodybuilding show. I still would like get that like shut down feeling, right? I'm a dad, and I would have a rough day at the office, or I'd have a rough day in the business, and or like a client would piss me off or some shit, and I would just shut down. I would like completely snap at my wife, or my daughter would, she's like, would be like 8 months old, 10 months old, 14 months old, whatever, and I would just be like, oh, I like don't even want to play, right? Like I don't feel like it. And one of the things I've noticed, especially in the past 60 days, really, and this is very recent. I'm not perfect, but it's very recent. It has become, regardless of the day that I've had. Let me adjust the camera here. It's just a little bit too high. Oh, how's that? How's that? Yeah, a lot better. All right, cool. So, like, regardless of the day that I've had, I've been able to just be a great dad and be a great husband. Still show up and still, like, laugh and have fun, because my worldview and my capacity for my ability to handle stress has radically shifted, right? Like, I feel like I can handle more. And that's also because I feel like when I go into the gym, it's much more therapeutic now than it is just strictly just to get the body, right? I've had sub 15% body fat now for going on 4 years. Even at my heaviest, like peak bulk, I'm probably like 16 or 17% body fat. I don't even scrape 20 anymore. I still like to see a little bit of abs, like it's a confidence thing. And just my ability to like stay disciplined, my ability to do the work inside the gym even when I don't feel like it, especially on leg day, right? Like I can't remember the last time I looked forward to a leg day. But my ability to still push the weight, still progressively overload, still get stronger, right? It's like that skill set has leaked into my business, and then that's increased my capacity to where now, like, if I have a day where it's shit, just fucking shit, like it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? Like I don't know a single person who's like, yeah, every day is amazing. It's like, no, it's fucking not. Like we can all agree that like you can do everything right and shit still sucks, right? And last night was a great example. I had a fucking awful day. It was like everything went wrong. I couldn't do anything right. And the worst part was like the things that were going wrong were so far out of my control, because it was the API connection between a payment processor, and it's like I can't control that, right? Like that, I'm leveraging another company at that point, and it's their job to make sure that it works, and then they can't, and it's like, ended up costing me a lot of money, and I was like really fucking pissed, and like certain checking accounts got held up and all that other good stuff, and just added on to my stress. But when Penny and when Katie got home, I was like, let's just be a great dad. Like we can still make today a great day, and I can still make these very short hours. I don't see my daughter all that often. I take her to school in the morning. It's like half an hour. Get a car ride, and I'm just jamming out to Winnie the Pooh, hardcore. We're on a big Winnie the Pooh binge right now, or Taylor Swift, which I gotta say, like, she's got some bops, dude. Like, let's be honest. And so it's like half an hour there, and then it's like I wrap up my workday anywhere between like 4:30 and 5:30, and she goes to bed at 7. So like at most I get 2.5 hours, 3 hours. At some days it's only 90 minutes. And in the past, even just last year, I would like ruin those 90 minutes. And just with my own attitude, my own like selfishness, like I would even go as far to say like a bit of narcissism. I'm not perfect, but I've really started to expand my capacity and for handling stress and mitigating stress to the degree where last night was a great example. We had a fucking awesome night, even though my day was totally garbage. So much so, in fact, my wife even noticed, which was very kind of her to point out. And it's good positive reinforcement. You love my wife, little gem. So that's the first thing, right? ability to handle more stress. When I was 19 years old, I went to my very first like large scale seminar, and I got paid like $100 to go or some shit, and like it was nothing. And although it felt like a lot at the time, and there was a phrase that was said that really has stuck with me over the course of the past 13 years, and it said, you know, when you feel like you have too much on your plate, you don't want to remove things, you want to get a bigger plate. And that's kind of been this underlying motto my whole life. Like, how do I just have the capacity to handle more? How do I whether it's not always getting more done, right? Like in terms of productivity, but just the ability to emotionally handle more, right? Because we rise and fall to the level of our ability to handle stress. And so that emotional training, that getting uncomfortable, that pushing yourself, that's been a struggle for me. It has not been easy. And although when I take a look at myself today in 2024 compared to 10 years ago in 2014, my ability to handle stress is drastically higher, right? The things that used to bug me out, freak me out, get me to like punch walls. I mean, in high school, I was like punching lockers and shit when like even the smallest thing would go wrong. Um, it was like almost like a character trait, you know, like it was like embedded into my identity that like, no, I'm the angry one, like I'm the physical one. It was like a terrible identity to have, but I had it, and you know, it was what it was. So that's the first thing, right? Building my capacity to handle stress. The second thing that I've noticed is when it comes to really nailing my fitness is that ability to create mental leverage and change the story to get me to take actions that I don't feel like doing. So, you know, when you're in the gym and you're tired, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, because let's face it, you know, like going to the gym in the middle of the day as a dad is just not going to happen. So when you're exhausted, you're tired, maybe you only got, there's some nights, you know, even still where I only get like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. But like I want to go to the gym. I still want to work out because it's going to set me up mentally for the day. It's going to increase my energy through the day. My ability to push through and my ability to complete every set and not skip any exercises and do that, that's leaked into my business. That's leaked into my marriage, to having the tougher conversations, to having the balls to maybe call a client or call a prospect, right? Like to expand, to create videos like this. Like this is very uncomfortable for me because I hate just cold talking to the camera. But I was like, you know what? We just got to do it and just create that mental leverage. And a lot of that has just been changing the story that I tell myself. We all have this belief system, right? Like we say things like, I am this, or, you know, for example, I had a guy who applied to become part of the program, and he said, I'm not a morning person. Right? So he had attached his identity to not waking up in the morning as like, that's who he is as a human being. It's like, well, maybe you just haven't woken up in the morning consistently enough, because I used to say that I'm not a morning person, and then I changed the story to, when I use my mornings properly, I'm a better dad. And so that changes the story, which changes my feeling about the situation. Thus I take new actions, right? Like the way we think about things dictates how we feel about things. How we feel about things dictates the actions that we take, and based on the actions that we take, that is going to determine the results that we get in life. So when I have a story of like, for me to be the best dad, for me to be the best husband, for me to be the best business owner, for me to lead men to the capacity that I want to lead men, which is international, tens of thousands of people, and growing Unbreakable Dads into this event-based company. We're actually running our first live event on March 22nd, which I'm very excited about. For me to do that, waking up in the morning is a huge tool. And so rather than me saying things like, oh, I hate waking up early in the morning, or I'm just not a morning person, which is all it is just a story, I can now change that story and I can make it mean something different. So that way I relate to it differently and I create a new feeling around it. Where when the alarm goes off at 4:15, 4:30 in the morning, the first thought isn't fuck this. The first thought is, here's my opportunity to strike a win for the day. Here's my opportunity to lead men. Like here's my like there is another man somewhere who's counting on me to show up. My kid is counting on me to be great by the time she wakes up. My wife is expecting me to be absolutely pleasant to be around, in a great mood, fit, energetic when she gets up. Like, for me to be the best husband possible, I need to not only beat the sun, but I need to beat everybody else in the house to getting up, because then I can prepare. I think as men, we struggle with this idea of like taking time away from our family to work on ourselves. And so to mitigate that and to really reverse the psychology around that is like, I don't want to take time away from my family. Like, I don't want to go to the gym at 5 o'clock. I don't want to go to the gym when my kids are up. Like, I want to take care of me well before there's even an opportunity for family time. Because then by doing that, I don't have to presuppose any sort of limitations on like how much time I can spend on you know, like, oh, I'm gonna miss dinner because I gotta go to the gym. Like, I don't want to do that shit. I want to be home for dinner. I want to be the one who wakes my daughter up. I want to be the one who drives my daughter to school. And so to do that, I need to get up early. Like, waking up early has a totally different meaning, and I relate to that action differently. So that way I'm more excited, more motivated, and much more consistent. Because we all put the meaning around waking up early as like, oh, like, do I have to? Well, do you have to based on what? Right? Like, if it's just to go to the gym, if you're like, oh, like, do I have to wake up early to go to the gym? Like, no, you could go to the gym at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, go on your lunch break, go at 8 o'clock at night if you really wanted to. Sure. Because that's all the meaning there is. It's a very shallow meaning. Like, do I have to wake up early to like get fit? Right? Look, I really am a big believer that like fitness and taking care of our body is such a deeper spiritual thing outside of just, oh, like, I just want abs. Because I'll tell you, I've been single digit body fat. And like, dude, you got no sex drive. Like, you don't even want to get intimate with your wife. Your energy levels fucking suck, and you're eating so little. Like, I'm 6'4". I walk around like 200 pounds right now. Well, actually, it was like 205 was like a healthy weight for me in terms of like high energy, great sex drive, great performance in the gym, great sleep, all that other good stuff. It was like 205. And like, you could see my top abs. I had some obliques. It was probably about 15% body fat, right? And so, like, to get to single digit requires so much stress that, like, yeah, getting shredded, you look fucking awesome in pictures. Like, I love looking at pictures of back when I was like 9% body fat. Like, sick. But the long-term sustainability of that, your first couple years, is really difficult if you don't have a ton of muscle mass. Like, the guys that have been working out for 10 years, 13 years, 14 years, I would say I've been working out consistently now for 6 years. I'm not there yet to where I have enough muscle where I can hold on to, where I can look hyper lean at like 12%, 13%, 15% body fat. I look lean, but I don't look like hyper lean. The guys that you see that are walking around at 15% body fat, but they still have a six pack, like, they have a ton of muscle. In their first couple years, when they would like were trying to build muscle and things like that, like, they would lose their abs. And so, you know, really what it comes down to, I'm on like a total random train of thought here. I don't even remember what this topic was even going to be about. Whoa! Oh no! I dropped my fucking flashlight here. My lighting. Oh, let's do that. Do I look pretty again? Kind of. There we go. So I don't even know where I was going. Oh, so to change the meaning, right? Like, I had to let go of the aesthetics, and I had to just focus on like, what is it going to do for my life? What is it going to do for my family? What is it going to do for my relationship with my wife? What's it going to do for the way that I show up for my clients? Because that creates a lot more mental leverage than just, oh, I want to look good. It's like, all right, you don't look good. Great. Congratulations. You know, if you have a strong belief system around it, that it's doing, you have a deeper why, a deeper meaning, a deeper relationship to it, then, dude, being disciplined is easy. God, I hear it all the fucking time, dude. Because, I mean, I talk to probably anywhere between 40 and like 75 guys a day via DMs on Instagram. Not famous by any means. We do a ton of outreach. Like I purposely start conversations. And it's like, oh, what's your biggest struggle? What's your biggest hurdle when it comes to like getting fit? I would say about 50% of the time, they're like motivation, willpower. Okay. So how do we knock that out, right? Like what does that actually take? Is it a new workout plan? No. Is it cutting carbs? No, definitely not. Is it's nothing more than just the mindset, the belief system, and the decision making skills. Really all it is. Right? Like we think willpower is like this esoteric ether that exists within us, like, oh man, he's got a ton of discipline, he's got a ton of willpower. No, that's not how it works. Like the way that you win the willpower game is by creating mental leverage based on what you believe that action, like the consequences of that action are. That's really what it is, right? Like the reason I get out of bed every morning is because I tell myself if I don't get out of bed, I'm going to be a shitty dad, I'm going to be a shitty husband, I'm going to be a shitty coach, and I'm going to let down my entire company, and I'm going to let down the guys that aren't even a part of my coaching program, that just watch my fucking stories. That's a lot of consequences, right? There's no negative consequences if I'm like, oh, I don't want to wake up in the morning because like it's hard. Where's the negative consequence? There really is none. Oh, look at that. I'm late for a call. Whoops. All right, boss. Well, I'll check in with you later. Get some negative consequences going.